Let's make French toast. So French toast really comes down to four main components: the bread, the custard, the way that you cook it, and what goes on top. Now this is the night before we actually cook the French toast, and what we're going to do is we're going to slice our bread and leave it out overnight so that it can get good and stale. This way the bread absorbs all the custard and ends up being perfect when you cook it. Nice and crispy on the outside and creamy on the inside. Now, what kind of bread do we use? I always use just one kind of bread. It is brioche bread. So filled with eggs and butter, it's naturally sweet. It's a great French toast bread. Now, there are all kinds of other breads that you can use: plain white bread, wheat bread. My friend Roman suggested raisin bread, all great ideas. But tonight, I'm just going to go straight with the classic brioche loaf. We're going to slice this in 3/4 inch thick slices and let it sit overnight. I'll demonstrate. So now it's the next morning. We have our bread. It's good and stale. So now it's time to make the custard and cook it. Let's do it. So my favorite way to prepare custard is half and half eggs, vanilla, and many of you suggested cinnamon, which I am going to use, and I'm going to sweeten it a little bit with some honey. Now on occasion I have used brown sugar, which works very well, but today we're going to just stick with plain old honey. Let's make it. Now, if you're like me, you always forget an ingredient, and I forgot to mention 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. That's very important too for a little added taste. I'm going to add the cinnamon, and by all means, if you happen to have helpers in the kitchen, have them pitch in too. Here, my oldest son, wearing a hunting jacket for some unknown reason, is going to pour some honey into the mixture, and we're going to whisk it up. So we have our bread, we have our custard. We're going to pour it into a flat pan, and we're going to soak the bread into the custard. But first I'm going to show you the clarified butter that I'm going to cook the French toast in. Terribly out of frame, that's my bad. So as we put the bread in, we're going to let it sit 1 minute per side minimum. The longer you soak it, the more it will soak up. Now you're going to place the French toast into the pan on medium heat. I recommend 3 to 4 minutes on one side and then 2 to 3 minutes on the other. Your time will vary, so keep an eye on it. Now here the French toast is nearly completed. We're going to flip it over, and it's beautiful golden brown. Look at that. It's just amazing. Now notice I flip it over one more time just to make sure it's done the way I want it to be done, and then I place it on a rack, because after we're done frying all of the French toast, we're then going to put it into the oven and bake it for 5 minutes at 375 degrees. Now what the baking is going to do is really crisp up those outside edges and maintain that creaminess on the inside. Now, when pulling it out of the oven, never underestimate the power of a good set of chopsticks. That really helps. Now when it comes to plating and presenting French toast, I like using fresh raspberries and a little powdered sugar. I also cut it into triangles for a little added pizzazz in the presentation. As far as what you can put on top of French toast, virtually anything. My friend Amy Grande mentioned that she uses a warm berry compote, which sounds amazing. But here I'll just plate it up. Look at that creaminess. Oh, so good. And there you have it, French toast. I hope you've enjoyed this video. We've really enjoyed making it, and let's eat.